tell us a little bit about what the procedure looks like as we move forward. Like, tell us a little, like, break down that for us a little bit, the procedure in the House and how it gets to the, how it gets here. Over to you.
Yeah. So last night was a procedural vote in the Senate. So some people are saying, "Oh my goodness," when I was with the veterans this morning, they were saying, "This is okay. They voted. We're open now. We're free and clear." Not the case. The Senate has only cleared a critical procedural vote, and we are going now to vote on the merits, so to speak, the meat of the issue. If that clears the Senate today, it will go back to the House. It has to go through our Rules Committee, where it will be subject to certain amendments. As far as we know, it does appear that there will be an open amendments process, and then a series of votes on those bills. What is being voted on this in the Senate is a continuing resolution, as I said, to keep the parts of the government that are not included in the 3 minibuses open until January 30th. But then there are 3 different appropriations bills directly that would continue to fund the government through the 2026 appropriations cycle. So that is what we would vote on. That's where we're headed. So we would have a series of votes in the House on that. Critically, another point of procedure is once we are convened again, Speaker Johnson is going to be required to swear in my colleague Adalita Grijalva, who has been a duly elected member of Congress by her constituents, but House leadership in an unprecedented move has refused to swear her in. So once we go back to Washington, they will have to do that, and the good people of Arizona will finally get the representation that they deserve. So,
great.
Kelsey's question, yeah, and I'm happy to read that out loud too. So, Kelsey, where do I stand on the healthcare? I have long been asked, when are we going to open the government? Everybody wants to know, and I said, when Republicans decide that they want to give affordable health care to the American people. We have had a very simple ask to extend the Affordable Care Act's tax subsidies that are going to expire at the end of December, and that we do so. We can do it with income caps. We can do it for a year. We can do it for 2 years. We can do it permanently. There's a number of things that we could talk about to make that happen. But Republicans have so far refused to negotiate on that. And, I have said, I'm not going to sell out, millions of Americans, tens of thousands of my own constituents, just because Republicans have decided to play cruelty games and hold poor, hungry, cold West Michiganders hostage because of that. So we're going to see what we can do in the House to see if we can get additional amendments to guarantee that these subsidies are extended. But without that, I don't see how we can accept this deal on a pinky promise. Republicans have gone back on their word time and time again, and we have no guarantee that these subsidies would be extended. Everywhere I go in West Michigan, my constituents ask me to keep fighting for this. They know how important it is. And I'm not just talking about the people who depend on the Affordable Care Act. I'm talking about people who work in healthcare, who know how important it is that we keep Americans insured.
Okay, and we have a question from Rick here asking, will you support the Senate plan even without a deal on the ACA?
Rick, we're going to take a look at this. We're going to see what we can do in the House. And I am not committing to a vote one way or another, but I can say right now, I did not come this far fighting to make sure that we can get an extension on the Affordable Care Act, just to say I'm going to accept a pinky promise from a bunch of, Republicans in leadership who have proven that they've had their fingers crossed behind their back the entire time. That is not what the people of West Michigan sent me here to do. I want to open the government as much as anyone. I was a federal worker who was trying to pay my student loans and my child care, in 2013 when the government shut down. And No one wants this. I support a measure to say members of Congress should not get to go home for the August recess until we pass all 12 appropriation bills. It's unconscionable that we should get to this point. But, to be put in a hostage situation like this to say, hey, trust us, we're going to do this. It feels like it would be selling out my constituents at this point. So we're going to see what we can do through the amendments process and what we might be able to do in the House. I know there is not an insignificant number of House Republicans as well who feel like this would be a betrayal of their constituents. And again, I have received overwhelming feedback from our constituents that they want us to keep fighting. But I think it would be disingenuous of me to say absolutely yes or absolutely no at this point. We are going to be fielding phone calls from constituents. I'm going to be out in the community listening to my constituents right now. That's how I do this job, is listening to the people that I represent and how they want me to vote, once we have a final version in the House and what that looks like. So
I've got one last one here, piggybacking on what you were talking about with grounding private jet flights, and asking, if that's something that can be, taken action upon, and like how that would impact Thanksgiving travel, and can we see things go back online?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why we were meeting as an aviation committee, or as a transportation and infrastructure committee. It was actually the full committee that was meeting this morning among Democrats to say, hey, what can we do here? And, I think it's really important that, Secretary Duffy hear from people that they want these private flights grounded. Think about this. Air traffic controllers, it's a single flight. They have to give as much attention to one billionaire, flying their private jet in and out of airports that they do as a fully loaded 747 carrying, hundreds of people between, Chicago and Washington, D.C. to do their daily business. It's unreasonable. We should ground the private jets, prioritize, the vast majority of the American public that travels by commercial flights, and take the load off that way. So, the administration has seemed responsive to us elevating that concern. And we're going to be putting out some stuff later on my official site. You can track it for information. You can share it. You can reach out directly. But there is a clear choice to be made here, and we need to be prioritizing the travel of everyday hardworking Americans that want to get to see their families, that have important travel around the holidays, people who travel for business, who don't have the luxury of a private jet and they have to fly commercial. We should be prioritizing them. So thank you for the question. I can't underscore this enough. We are going to continue fighting for healthcare at every possible stage. This has been an affront to the American people that Republicans have not been in Congress since September 19, have allowed American people to suffer, federal workers to suffer without a paycheck while they continue to get paid for not showing up and doing their job. And I have not taken my eye off the ball for a second, that this fight is about healthcare. We are going to do what we can in the House. As soon as I head back to Washington, I haven't really slept at all in the last 24 hours because I've been working with our House leadership to see what we can do. But I am not going to settle for a pinky promise from Republican leadership who have been completely dishonest and disingenuous in their dealings from the beginning.
Okay. Well, thank you, Congresswoman. Are there any last remarks that you want to give to us? Maybe communicating what we should be telling everyone back home now about what the most important takeaway is?
Yeah, I really want folks to know, especially around some of these programs around LIHEAP and SNAP, there are a lot of questions, and individuals who receive their benefits are confused about what's happening. You can always reach out to our office. We have multiple different modes of communication, scholten.house.gov. You can find our email and our phone. We live answer all of our phone calls. Sometimes if the phones get flooded, you may get sent to voicemail, but we will call you back. But we are working during the shutdown. Team Scholten is on hand and answering. Thank you. My team is putting the DC office and the website right there in the chat for anyone who needs it. Put it out on, I know we've got our local elected officials here, and we've got some news outlets. Put it on your news outlets. Put it on your social media. and we're happy to answer any individual questions. We'll try to keep you as up to date as we can as well on our social media feeds as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Thanks everybody for joining.